Liftoff will start in T-minus 10 seconds.
Hey everybody, this is Evan and John, and you're listening to the Boomer and X Show.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the latest version, or latest
Installment. That's
of the Sports Shorts.
Yes, Sports Shorts episode. We're going to be talking about last week in the NFL, last week in college. We're going to break down LSU and Florida, since we knew we couldn't fit that in college. Next week college, and then next week NFL,
And then we'll end it with a mad dash of just brief little topics.
We'll hit there
on
were
some
couple times where we, there was some stuff we wanted to talk about, but couldn't fit it in the 5 categories, so we just tossed them. And you came up with the idea: do a mad dash. Don't give them 5 minutes; just give them however long.
And I want to hit the baseball playoffs, but I don't know enough. I don't follow baseball enough to talk intelligently for 5 minutes about it. So that'll be one of the things that we'll hit.
So straight out the gate,
last Thursday night, the Saints managed to pull a win out at home, a primetime game against Atlanta.
We both said would lose.
Atlanta would win that game. Yes. So it was an emotional game. They're
an emotional team. I mean,
they brought Steve Gleason out, and he was the player that blocked the punt.
You're
right.
He's got ALS now.
He has ALS, and they bring him out, and I'm not sure because I wasn't watching the game. I was getting updates on it because I was at work.
Same here.
They bring him out at some point, and so playing Atlanta in prime time is a very emotional thing for the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like they were able to draw on that, put together a decent game.
Well, it's a huge rivalry.
It is. I'd say that's the biggest Saints rival there is.
They were undefeated, and
Atlanta was. Yes.
It's a conference matchup. So
a division
matchup. So I mean, you had all that, and notoriously the Saints are a very emotional team. They're at home, which you couldn't win in the Superdome if you were an opposing team, but
lately it's kind of been the other way. But the Saints now 2 wins at home in a row, two home wins in a row, one against Dallas in overtime, one against Atlanta. So I don't know that it means anything has turned around. I don't really get that feeling. I think it was a win on emotion, and Atlanta probably was a little overrated coming in because I'm sure they had
a big head.
Well, they had barely beaten a very mediocre Washington Redskins team right before that.
That's true.
So anyway, they come back down to earth a little bit. The Saints get a win. I'm not altogether sure the Saints are turning anything around.
So Pittsburgh, they won.
Pittsburgh won. They beat the Cardinals in Pittsburgh, and although they gave up a lot of passing yards, they only gave up 13 points. And here's what really surprises me about the Steelers. Going into the season, we knew they were going to be an offensive juggernaut, assuming everybody stays healthy, which hasn't happened. But what we didn't count on was Pittsburgh having a defense, and they have found a defense in the absence,
which historically they're known as the steel curtain and all this,
right? But lately
they were more offense. They have to score 35 points to win, and not so much now. They got their defense grooving, and I know they brought back a couple of guys. I can't remember their names.
Well, I know James Harrison is like 36, 37 years old and linebacker, and I know he's playing. I think he's by far now the senior member of the team.
Did they find a kicker?
I don't know. I don't know. But I know the Saints got rid of another. But kickers getting hurt is what. I mean, the Steelers had 2 kickers actually get hurt, which is why they were so far down. But yesterday they won 25-13. The best thing that could have happened for the Steelers, their second string quarterback tweaks a hamstring. He goes out. Landry Jones comes in, and actually the Steelers then find a passing game.
Well, I wasn't watching this game. I was keeping up with it on my fantasy points, and I see Martavis Bryant with like 30 points or something, and I was like, wow, Mike Vick must be doing pretty good too. I look, he's got 5. I was like, well, this didn't make any sense. So I put it together. Oh, he got hurt.
He got hurt.
Didn't even know who the third stringer was. And
of course, the word is now that there's a possibility that Big Ben comes back in this game against Kansas City. I hope they're not rushing it.
Yeah,
but
me too. Because of leg stuff. I mean, because the guy's played with broken ribs before, but that's something you can kind of handle, I guess, if you're Big Ben.
Well, see, one of his big things is making a very subtle move and getting out of the way of a rush.
Yes,
and I
can't do that with a hurt leg.
I don't think he can do that.
Okay, real quick, we also were wrong. No, we weren't wrong, but New England did not just slaughter Indy like we thought they would.
They didn't. It ended up being a one-score game. Indianapolis scored
Indianapolis actually was ahead a couple of times.
Indianapolis got a late score to make it a one-score game. But what Indy did in that ridiculous,
I'm shaking my head right now,
field goal alignment. I'm assuming that they weren't supposed to snap
They weren't
the ball.
supposed to snap that ball. And for those of you who don't know, they tried some kind of gimmick where you
the center was far left and
Yes.
everybody else was to the right.
Yes.
And then there was one person right behind the center, and that's it.
So I bust out laughing when I saw 2 guys in front of the center, and I'm like, what are they thinking? As soon as he hikes that ball, it's over.
They snap it and they tackle the shit out of it. I mean, he's done. And so
why did he hike that?
Yeah.
Why did he snap that ball?
And
it's
so that turns over the ball on downs.
literally the worst play in NFL history.
Yeah, to New England, and then like at the 38-yard line, and they take it on that possession and they score. And the Lions finally get a win. They beat the Bears 37-34, and Matt Stafford, a week after being benched, comes back and throws 4 touchdown passes.
Yeah, he had a chip on his shoulder, and he came out there ready to prove some people wrong, get his job back, I guess.
And in a losing effort, Phillip Rivers throws like for 63 or 65 passes.
I lost on another league for that because of that. He got like 50 points, and they were still throwing the ball, and it just broke my heart.
And the last one batted down at the in the end zone as time runs out.
All right, next topic, we got last week in college. Now if we threw an LSU Florida game, we would end up talking about them the whole time. So we gave them their own category. I want to hit on Michigan at home versus Michigan State. If you didn't watch it, you missed out a great.
You missed it. The game was great, and the ending was bizarre. And if I remember correctly, this is the 3rd time this year we've seen a game turn late in the game. Of course, this was the very last play.
A punt.
By a punter muffing a snap.
Yep.
Texas lost to Cal. Tennessee lost to Florida that way. And then we saw, of course, this was the last play of the game, where all you got to do is punt the ball, kneel on the ball.
Yeah.
If you don't handle the snap, just fall on the ball. Do not just throw it up in the air, have the other team get it and take it the other way. Even before that play, though, I was a little surprised that Michigan wasn't as dominant on defense as I expected them to be.
Well, you told me a funny stat that I think is noteworthy here. The previous 3 coaches? The previous 7
The previous
coaches.
7 Michigan coaches all lost their first game while coaching Michigan to Michigan State.
That is crazy.
It goes all the way back to Bo Schembechler.
The Michigan State curse, or I'm sure it has a name.
Yeah, and I'm sure that play will have a name, too. It will live in lore forever.
I heard that punter was getting death threats, dude.
Yeah, that's it's sad.
It is.
I mean, that's. I mean, look, I'm a huge fan. I love football. I get passionate about football. During the LSU Florida game, I was pacing the floor and yelling things at my TV. But
you wouldn't tweet the dude who messed up.
No,
I'm going to come find you.
No, that's just horrible.
Okay, so another team who lost, didn't see this coming. Ole Miss lost to Memphis.
Memphis is 6-0 for the first time since 1961, and the team that beat Alabama has now lost 2 games. One of them, Florida, just blew them out, and then they lost here to Memphis.
Speaking of Bama, they went to A&M, and
we managed to get this one right.
Yeah,
we did say we expected Bama to win, and they won. 3 interceptions returned for touchdowns by the Bama defense.
By the defense.
So.
Oklahoma, they beat Kansas State 55-0.
55-0. So they took that embarrassing loss to Texas.
Exactly.
And you never know for sure how a team is going to handle that. Does it mess with them, or or do they regroup? They obviously regrouped and took it out on Kansas State, which, by the way, is not as good as we're used to Kansas State being. A few weeks ago, I watched Kansas State have to go into overtime to beat Louisiana Tech. So they're not the Kansas State that we're used to seeing. Clemson, I believe, is one of the more impressive teams in the country. They're currently ranked number 5. They're 6-0. They're making a strong case. They've got some good quality wins. I believe later in the year, Clemson, Florida State is a game I'm definitely going to want to watch.
Just to talk about one of the top teams right now, Ohio State.
Ohio State benching Cardell Jones, who they won the national championship with.
Their third
last
stringer
season. Yeah.
Now, I agree with them. You want to keep the guy who went the distance, I guess. But
going back to J.T. Barrett, who, and it's surprising that a team has succeeded this much with so many questions at quarterback, but that's where Ohio State finds themselves.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see how it works out, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody else gets benched and somebody else comes in over the next week or two. They play at Rutgers this week, so I mean, it's not a big deal.
I'm calling upset on that.
Really?
I'm calling upset.
Rutgers beats Ohio State.
I'm calling it.
Okay. Well, I won't go there with you on that one.
Why not?
Because I don't believe it's going to happen.
Okay.
LSU, Florida. 35-28 was the final score.
Yeah, it was a great game.
It was a great game.
I would say if you were a celebrity and you were out shooting a movie in New Orleans and you wanted to go to a college game, this would be a good one to go to. And Tom Cruise, it was his first.
Yeah, so it says it was his first ever college football game.
He picked a good one to go to.
He did pick a good one to go to. Here's what I love: the Mad Hatter. After years of absence, he returns.
Well, absence at that level, the crazy, awesome. You never saw this come in play.
2 things: flea flicker,
and
the fake field goal.
Yeah,
the fake field goal.
The flea flicker was a 45-yard touchdown pass.
Right around 50. I mean, it was.
And it was to Dupree.
Yeah. Well, they hand it to Fournette. He turns around and pitches it back, and of course. And look, it's a great call because everybody's going to collapse on Fournette, and sure enough, they did. He pitches the ball back to Brandon Harris, and Harris throws a spot on, perfect pass. Down the field. It was
beautiful.
And another pass by Harris, even more impressive, I thought. A little bit later, he sheds a tackler. He's rolling out to the right,
to his right. He's right-handed.
He's right-handed, and he throws back across his body.
Yeah, it was insane.
On a 53-yard pass.
On the money.
And hits the guy for a touchdown. Brandon Harris has obviously made great strides in the past few weeks.
He even said, I played with a chip on my shoulder. I was going to prove people wrong.
Well, good.
And so, hopefully he can continue doing it.
I'm all for it.
We said last week, the LSU definitely balanced their offense where they had more pass and defense stuff going on.
And we said, but that was against South Carolina.
Exactly.
We didn't want to get carried away.
Exactly.
But this was against Florida, who's better. But I tell you what really, really, really impressed me. And again, kudos to Trent Domingue, the kicker, for catching and juggling and catching and running with that 16-yard touchdown run.
He was definitely, you hear that saying, don't run before you have the ball. He did that. He finally got
it in.
And he was able to hit the Jets and get it.
That was excellent. But I tell you what, I was probably more impressed by Leonard Fournette's 180 yards in this game than anything he's done so far.
The announcers the whole time, they were like, there's been 6 people to get 200-plus yards in 4 straight weeks or whatever, or 7 games, or I don't know. And you kind of hear that and think, well, he only got 180. But if you saw that game, he earned every inch.
Every yard. Now, all of the other games have featured some breakaway runs, 70, 75, 80, 85 yards. The longest run in this, and he still averaged almost 6 yards per carry, but the longest one was 25 yards. And he, like you said, he earned every yard of it. Florida didn't give him anything. I mean,
he even very late in the fourth quarter, he was getting physical with dudes. I mean, they were back real close to their end zone, and the stiff arm looked like a left juke.
Punch.
Yeah, it looked like a punch to the face, and he's just...
The guy is strong, and again, I was very, very impressed with Fournette.
So, were you also impressed with special teams?
No, I was not. and we've seen this.
We've talked about it.
First of all, the game starts with muffing a receiving a punt, and that gives Florida a short field, which they turn into the first points of the game. But then later a punt return for a touchdown, and so really there's 14 points given up by special teams, and something has to give.
I was expecting Monday morning to see special teams coach fired, but that was not the case.
No, and I don't. As much as that would kind of suit me, that's not going to happen in the middle of the season. It's just not. It's just not. But
well, they need to bring in some extra help. Then I mean, they need to.
Something's not working.
The guys
the
were
coverage
missing
is
their
bad.
lanes. They're not staying in their areas. They're just. I mean,
the coverage is bad. I don't know. I mean, they've got to find an answer because that's not going to work against Alabama, and probably not going to work against Texas A&M either.
It might not even work against Western Kentucky next week.
Western Kentucky presents some issues.
Who's their next matchup?
Yeah, that's their next matchup. And you don't think of directional university.
I didn't do the buzzer, and it's 2 minutes over. Okay, there it is, even though we went about 2 minutes over. Oh, well. Anyways, continue with the Western Kentucky.
Western Kentucky has a very excellent quarterback. They put up a lot of yards. Here's what I think we'll see out. I don't know what the line is or will be. If it hadn't come out yet, it'll come out soon. Whatever it is, I'm not sure. I expect LSU to cover it. But here's what I think LSU will do. What is the best defense against a great passing attack?
Fournette.
Keeping the ball. Keeping the ball. Ball control.
Keep the ball out of this guy's hands.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we will see not only a big dose of Fournette, but a Geis as well. I think Williams is the name of another running back LSU
No one knows any
well,
other running
I think
backs.
it's Williams. But I know we'll see Fournette and Geis in big doses. I think it'll be ball control. I don't think they'll try to hit the long pass a lot. I think it will be all about
keeping the ball out of Kentucky's
keeping the ball
hands.
on the
Western Kentucky's
hands. I think so. Yeah.
So we don't have a line yet. What do you think that the score wise might be? I'm thinking 7. LSU is going to win by 7. I'm not calling any crazy upsets on this one.
I think it'll be by more than that, but I'm thinking the line is probably going to be somewhere around 18 or 20.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
And I don't think LSU will win by quite that much, but we'll see. I've kind of made a habit this year of selling them short.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Okay. On some of the matchups we have this week, last week was just full of rivalry. You got teams coming off of big losses and stuff like that. What are some ones that pop out to you on this one?
Yeah, A&M and Ole Miss play each other. Well, first of all, there aren't the stellar matchups this coming week that we had last weekend.
You had
a lot
There's
of
not
ranked,
as many.
You had a lot of ranked teams, but we do have Texas A&M playing Ole Miss. Both of them coming off of pretty tough losses. A&M got pretty much manhandled by Alabama
at home. Yeah,
at home, and Ole Miss went to Memphis and lost to Memphis, and so A&M 15 at Ole Miss number 24. Who handles better? Now, Ole Miss has 2 losses in a row now. They're reeling.
So you want who can recover? Who?
I'm going to say A&M.
Okay,
I'm going to say A&M is going to get a road win.
I think they faced up with Bama, who has immediately flipped the script, and they started playing good, and they put on a little bit of a show there at A&M, and Ole Miss. Just, I don't know. I mean, they got plenty of good players out there, but man, they're losing some sucky.
Well,
games.
but Memphis is good. I mean, Memphis again they're 6-1 for the first time. 6-0.
Yeah, that's true.
6-0 for the first time since 1961. Just because they don't have a big name, doesn't mean they can't be a good team. So,
you're right.
They're good. They will play. They will play in a bowl. I like this matchup. Utah at USC. USC just was at Notre Dame and gave them a good game for a while. Then Notre Dame pulled away to win. Yeah. Utah's up to number 3 now.
Yeah. Man, we talked about Utah, and they're just keep on trucking. I mean, it's a good squad right there.
Yeah, they're playing very well. Washington at number 10. Stanford. I'm going to say Stanford. They're looking real good.
Yeah. So. Last and not least, we got the NFL's coming up matchups. We got the Saints. They're going to Indianapolis. The Saints are riding this, beat the undefeated Atlanta Falcons high, and the Indianapolis just lost to New England.
Yeah, again, I don't think what we saw with the Saints was a turning point. I think it was taking advantage of.
I agree.
Playing an emotional game against a rival at home on prime time.
So you're saying Indianapolis? At home.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Indianapolis. I'll mention the Steelers. Big Ben may play. They're playing at Kansas City. Kansas City without Jamal Charles. They put up 10 points yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the Steelers win,
Me too.
although I'm uncomfortable with predicting road wins unless you're without your starting quarterback. But they have surprised to the upside. They are playing good defense. I believe they have somebody now that can get the ball to Martavis Bryant and Antonio Brown.
Yep.
Le'Veon Bell is healthy. The defense is playing better. So even though I'm not comfortable with it, I'm going to say Pittsburgh beats Kansas City.
I mean, I'm looking at it. All the upsides are on Pittsburgh's side here. Kansas City, Alex Smith just cannot get that ball around. I believe Jeremy Maclin got hurt. Jamal Charles was already out.
Right.
So, I mean...
And they're 1-5.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I'll say the Steelers. The Cowboys come back off of their bye, and they go play the Giants in what's got to be a revenge game for the Giants. With the way they lost early in the season to the Cowboys, giving up a double-digit fourth-quarter lead. I don't know how much better Matt Castle is than Whedon. I don't know. To me, there's more issues than Whedon. With all the injuries. And the Giants just got embarrassed on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, they went to Philly, and man, they just got manhandled. Yeah. I mean, they ran no huddle for a good while, and even at one point, I think it was in the fourth quarter, you had Giants defenders faking cramps and stuff. Well, everyone in the stadium and me thinks they were faking a cramp, to get the old extra timeout and all this, and it did. They didn't look good. Pass protection was terrible. Eli was getting hit. I think he got hit 7 times. Not sacks, but getting hit.
Right.
And Sam Bradford. I mean, he had all night to throw the ball.
And just when I thought the Giants were turning things around.
Oh yeah,
I thought they were. I mean, I thought they had found. But still, I'm going to say that they're going to beat the Cowboys at home. Here's what I think is the premier matchup if you're just a fan of football and not
rooting for
the Jets at New England. The Jets are 4-1. They've looked impressive doing it. New England is 5-0, and
it is going to be a great game.
I think it's going to be a great game. They're division rivals, so it's a very, very, very important game.
The Jets were my underdog, team that I called out that they're probably getting a lot of flack that they don't probably deserve, but. Mostly because of their quarterback situation that they had early on, not being able to lead the team and all this.
Well, again, I think the best thing that happened to them was Geno Smith getting hurt.
Yep.
Because Fitzpatrick has done well.
Yes, he has.
He's not superstar, but he's done well.
And so, like you said, it's divisional. These are rivals.
Absolutely.
They are. You can throw stats out the book in this case. New England, though, I mean, they're a well-oiled machine, man.
They are, but again, they're not looking invincible. So, and they had every reason to look invincible Sunday night, and they didn't. I'm not saying that the Jets are going to win. I'm just saying I expect a good, hard-fought game that's close, and you got to love the running back Chris Ivory. I mean, he is definitely a tough runner.
I think we talked about him on our fantasy when we were talking about the fantasy.
We do have him.
He's just a monster, man.
He's a punishing, physical, violent runner, but he's also got good speed in the open field.
He does. That New England matchup last week that we thought was going to be a blowout, I think Tom Brady does have a soul, and he just didn't want to embarrass them that bad.
Oh, I don't know. So. No, I think Indy came prepared to play.
I agree.
And I don't know. I think the Jets New England game is an excellent game.
Oh yeah,
and one I look forward to seeing.
So we have Atlanta. Last week at the end we hit the undefeated and then the defeated Detroit. They finally got a win
right against Chicago.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, Stafford came in.
He got 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean he was proven he can still do it. And Atlanta lost to the Saints, which I don't think anyone saw coming. But so now we have 5 undefeateds, and it
leaves us with New England, Cincinnati, Denver, Green Bay, and Carolina.
Yep.
as the undefeateds.
2 of them are on byes this week.
Cincinnati, Denver, and Green Bay.
So
we
three
got
on
three
buys
of
this
them
week.
are on buys this week.
So they will stay undefeated until week 7.
They will. Carolina plays host to the Eagles, who were very impressive tonight, but they haven't.
That's going to be a
been-
good game, I think.
I think it's got to run out for Carolina because they don't have many weapons at receiver. They don't get a lot from the running game. I don't know. I mean, I don't know when it's going to run out, but they just went up to Seattle and won in Seattle.
Yeah, that was impressive.
And so we can go ahead and Seattle's not going to win their division. I mean, we've already said we think Arizona Cardinals win that division, even though they have 2 losses, and there was an upset loss yesterday to the Steelers.
Yep.
I just don't think Seattle has what they had. I just don't.
Anything else on NFL next week?
No, that'll do us.
Well, real quick, we wanted to talk about just our little Mad Dash part. We have FanDuel.
Yeah,
and
FanDuel and
DraftKings.
DraftKings. And this story broke a couple of weeks ago, and we had so much to cover last week we didn't get on it, but there was some...
Therefore, we invented the Mad Dash.
The Mad Dash. So you've got employees of these two companies.
Okay, so I work for DraftKings, you work for FanDuel.
And I make my bets on DraftKings.
Because you can't,
Because
as
I
a
can't at my
employee
own
of
place,
Fan-
right.
yeah, okay.
And you make yours
Over there.
You're right.
Okay,
right.
so what's wrong with that? Nothing?
Allegedly, supposedly, they use some sort of inside information, and I'm still not sure what this inside information was. But what a rule that should have been in place from the get-go anyway was if you work here, you cannot do this.
Kind of like a ref betting on a game, I guess.
Well, it's, certain... well, yeah, right. Right.
I mean, they can't change the outcome of the game in any way, but they
Well,
can...
okay, let's not use the ref analogy because a ref actually takes part in the
Of the
game.
game,
Let's use
yeah.
insider trading on Wall Street.
Yep.
If you are privy to certain things, you allegedly can't trade. Now, I'm sure it is violated a gazillion times a day, but at least legally you can't do it. They finally said these employees can't. Some states don't allow it. Louisiana is one that doesn't allow it because they say it's gambling and it's luck and is not a game of skill. I say if it's not a game of skill, then how can information be valuable? I say it is a game of skill.
Well, my defense to that is like if you compare it to blackjack, it's luck because you don't know what card's coming next, but you also need to know. You need to have the skill of okay, if I've got 17, what do I do? You just don't hit every time.
Well, certainly there's luck and skill, but I still say it's a game of skill with
but
a good
blackjack
element
is
of luck.
considered gambling though, so I don't know. I guess where I lie on this one.
I think it ought to be allowed everywhere, partly because I want to do it.
Yeah, and we're in Louisiana.
And we live in Louisiana, and I want to do it. The baseball playoffs, I don't follow baseball enough to talk about it intelligently, but I didn't want to just not address it.
The Mets
and the Cubs are
Mets are 2-0.
Mets are 2-0 up on the Cubs as of this recording with Game 3.
and the Jays won tonight.
Yes.
So the Royals are 2.
The Royals are up 2-1.
2-1.
Yeah.
So,
Prediction? Guess?
Yeah. Back to the Future 2, they said the Cubs win it. So since I'm not a huge baseball fan, I'm going to say I'm going with that because I want that prediction that was made in 1985? 1989.
Yeah.
I want that prediction to be right because they haven't won since when? I mean...
1907.
Yeah.
108
So
years
if that
ago.
was predicted by some by some movie 26 years ago, I mean that's insane.
I'm just going to go with I wanted the Cubs because if you're just a barely
That
a fan,
big of an
if you're just
underdog.
enough of a fan to watch during the World Series,
Yeah, which is me.
and right, same here. And the Cubs haven't won it since before, since over 100 years
Since
ago.
baseball was invented.
Then why not pull for them? But they're down 2-0, so I'm just gonna say the Mets. And as far as the Royals and the Blue Jays, the Blue Jays made a great comeback against Texas. They were down 2-0 and came back and won that series 3-2. I'll say they've got comebacks in them.
I'm too. Blue Jays.
Toronto.
It's going to be Blue Jays, Cubs in the World Series.
I'll say Blue Jays and the Mets.
Okay, fair enough.
So,
well, if y'all want to get a hold of us and give us any topic ideas or feedback on the episodes, go to theboomerandxshow.com and go to contact us, and our email is there. And if you don't feel like doing that, just type in theboomerandxshow@yahoo.com. That's our email. We're on Twitter @boomerandxshow. You can find us on there. We don't tweet a lot, but when we do, it's hilarious. And we just like to keep y'all up to date, and we like y'all to give us feedback and stuff because that's just what makes this so fun when we hear back from our fans and everything. But other than that, we have in store for you, we have Patrick Neff, our movie critic guy from Real Man Reviews. He has a podcast and a blog where he critiques movies and books. And we also did a little something I got the inspiration from some friends of ours who don't even know that they're our friends over at Stuff You Should Know podcast, How Stuff, from the How Stuff Works guys, and where you read a horror fiction. And we kind of did that. We read a horror fiction in parts, and we're going to put some sound effects and some music and just have some fun with that, all in the spirit of Halloween. So, John, I have no more words left to say, so.
And I ran out of words about 35 seconds ago.
All right, everybody, y'all have a good one.